friends. Welcome back to the Kirkpatrick podcast. It is Vanessa. Okay, so we're not officially in April. We're close enough. It's March 30th, y'all. And I think at this point, one thing should be very, very clear. Evaluation does not fail because people don't care. It fails because organizations leave it to individuals and assume they're going to change the entire organization. In many organizations, evaluation starts with a passionate learning leader or analyst, someone who believes that measurement matters, someone who asks better questions or pushes for better data. I see it all the time. But here's the reality. When evaluation depends on individuals, it can't scale. And it rarely survives. At some point, evaluation stops being a personal practice and becomes a leadership responsibility. And so today we're going to talk about that transition, what it looks like, why it matters, and how organizations begin to make that shift. Well, in most organizations, evaluation lives in the hands of a few committed people. Again, they're the ones that are going to ask the right questions before a program launches. Maybe they even use Caddy to help ask those questions. They push for follow-up data after training. They try to connect learning to performance outcomes, and they keep the conversation about impact alive. These people often become the internal champions for evaluation. And champions are definitely valuable, but alone, they cannot sustain a system. Because when evaluation depends on an individual effort, it is fragile. Look, people change roles, teams get reorganized, budgets shift, urgent priorities crowd long-term thinking, and slowly, quietly, evaluation starts to shift. Not overnight, but gradually. First, the behavior follow-up disappears. Then the business results conversations fade. Then evaluation becomes a report instead of a tool for decision-making. And before long, the organization is back to where it started, collecting data, not really learning from it. And this is the hidden cost of relying on individuals. Evaluation is back to being optional. I see it all the time in our programs, especially the private ones. The only folks I see in alignment workshops is the L&D team. Now, I believe there is a place for it to just be your L&D team that is aligning. And that is, when we're talking about the actual practice of evaluation. Meaning, when it comes to learning what the updates are to the Kirkpatrick model, when it comes to, how are we going to actually evaluate these things? Like what tools do we need? What templates? All of those sorts of things. But the miss is in the beginning piece where we're actually just aligning about why evaluation is so important and what the organization stands to benefit because we are all evaluating. And that is where the business needs to be in the room. You need to have a very honest conversation with your stakeholders and say, okay, I'm going to use this word evaluation. What comes to your mind when I say evaluation? If I say level 4, you're going to be like, huh? Or are you going to know what I mean? When I say behaviors, what do you think of? What do you see when you look at my team? That is the work that has to get done first, and then the rest can come. When leaders step into the ownership of evaluation, something powerful happens. The conversation changes, and instead of asking, did participants like the training? Leaders start asking, what problem were we trying to solve? Did behavior actually change? What evidence do we have? What should we improve next time? And those questions shift expectations across the organization. Learning teams stop chasing data after the fact and start designing for impact from the beginning. Managers become partners in reinforcing behavior. Results become visible. And evaluation stops feeling like extra work. Instead, it becomes a decision framework. And that shift truly does not require perfection. And too often, we seek perfection, but really all we're doing is procrastinating. What that shift does require, though, is ownership. And when leaders own evaluation, they signal something important. Performance matters enough to measure. For so many leaders, look, even ourselves, the hardest part of the shift isn't the framework, it's the mindset. Because evaluation requires curiosity. Evaluation comes with the understanding that we're going to have to be okay with failures and see failures. And we're going to have to actually be honest about failures. It requires leaders to ask questions like, are we solving the right problems? Are we willing to learn from what the data tells us? Are we willing to adjust when something doesn't work? And that level of openness creates a completely different kind of culture. One where learning isn't just delivered, it's examined. And where improvement becomes part of the process, not a reaction to failure. And when that happens, evaluation becomes less about accountability and more about the insight. Think about how many reports you have on your desk right now or on your computer. How many of them are providing you any actual insight? How many of them are reporting after the fact? How many of them feel like a check the box report? What are you going to go do with those reports? Truly. What's the point of them? Are you going to just file them away? Or are you going to take it and are you going to learn from it? The hardest work we can do in any area of our life is mindset work. That brain is a powerful, powerful organ. It can do some crazy things. It can make us believe some crazy things. And I think too often, we in the learning field, our mindset has shifted. But we forget that we have so much evidence in front of us day in and day out that the shift happened, like you didn't even realize the shift happened. All the evidence is there for that mindset shift. Oh, almost said a bad word. To be like that. But leaders are not in that day in and day out. Look, there are certain areas or certain mindset shifts that leaders can make instantly because of their role, where it may take us more time to get on board. That's because they have more data and evidence in front of them to show them that this shift is critical. We have to start providing that data to our leaders. And look, it's scary. I know it is wild times out there. And it has been for like quite some time. We're scared of losing our jobs. We're scared of being wrong. Our brain is trying to keep us safe. And so it doesn't want you to be upset about what you might hear when it comes to feedback. And the world feels like it's different already. I'm recording this on March 12th, 2026. Tomorrow's Friday, March 13th, Friday the 13th. The last time we had a Friday, March 13th, was 2020. And we all know what happened then. And while I do not think we have got an impending pandemic, we've got a lot of other issues, a lot of other things going on that can go at a moment's notice. I feel a difference in the field. I feel a difference in the work world. I feel something is going to be different. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know that something's coming and it's already happening. And so now is the time to be honest with ourselves and say, you know what, let's get ahead of this and let's lead from the front. Let's show the leaders the evidence so that they can come on board and make the mindset shift. Let's show them what's possible. Let's sell them the vacation. Not all the steps to get there. And trust me, right now, you don't even want to talk about going through TSA PreCheck because in some airports, it's not even open yet. So you really don't want to talk about that part. But you want to talk about the destination they're going to get to. And maybe the nice, cool beverage they'll have when they get there, the swim up bar. As you can tell, I'm a beach vacation type girl. So insert your version of a great vacation, whether, maybe it's the mountains, skiing. Wouldn't catch me in a ski. So insert your own here. I'm going to go with the beach though. You've got the nice pool. You've got the beautiful ocean in front of you. Time feels like there's so much of it because you've got nowhere to be. Everything is running. You have space to think. You just read a book for pleasure instead of trying to sell them, well, here's the process that we're going to take in order to build culture of evaluation or whatever that mindset shift you're trying to make. We've got to do that work on giving the evidence, and not all of it's going to always be pretty, but it's almost better. It's like, we can keep doing this and keep reaping these rewards, or we could do this and get ahead of the game. And when you can do that, the Kirkpatrick model unlocks such power. It helps leaders see performance more clearly. It connects learning to behavior and behavior to results. But the model in and of itself is not the solution. The framework isn't going to create accountability. Leadership will. And the Kirkpatrick model works best when leaders use it to guide questions, expectations, and conversations. It's not just a measurement tool. It has a leadership lens. It's a decision framework. And when we're inside the Kirkpatrick Collective, we see this moment happen often. Someone is carrying the responsibility of evaluation on their shoulders, and they realize something important. This cannot live alone with me anymore. And that realization becomes a turning point because sustainable evaluation doesn't come from individual effort. It comes from shared ownership. From leaders who believe that performance matters enough to measure and improve. And that's what happens. And when that happens, evaluation moves from being a task to becoming part of the organization's operating system. There are two things that evaluation needs in order to survive: openness and ownership. Culture creates openness. Leadership creates sustainability. Without both, evaluation will fade. But when both are present, something different happens. Organizations don't just measure learning, they learn from what they measure. And that is where you can unlock performance, innovation, scale, and growth. With that, friends, welcome to the next quarter, the next month of the podcast. We are days, weeks away from the book being out May 12th. It's Building a Culture of Evaluation, the new Kirkpatrick Model for Learning and Performance, available for pre-order now, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you love to get your books, and set to release on May 12th. So if you're at ATD, I am your girl to come and see the next week, to get that book signed, have a conversation about it. Really excited for y'all to get this into your hands. It's been a labor of love, but I think that book and the concepts within it is practical, yet visionary enough for us to see change in organizations and to actually scale the Kirkpatrick model. Friends, thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. Bye.